Welcome everyone here to the Husson Eagles Sports Network. I'm Avery Henningsen alongside Caden Schronowith as we bring you Husson men's soccer taking on the University of Southern Maine in this first home game of the season for Husson men's soccer. It's the second game of the day here for us on the Husson Eagles Sports Network. Saw the Husson women's team lose 5-3 to Emmanuel College in a game that we saw Emmanuel College score a couple highlight goals. Hopefully we'll see a few more here tonight in this men's one, which I think will definitely be under the lights here pretty soon. Probably about halftime, if not second half. The sun will finally go down. It's definitely starting to turn to fall, Caden.
Yeah, it's getting real chilly nighttime. It's been, I think last night got down to 46 degrees. Like we're at the end of August. Like that's crazy. Normally we're still like 80 degrees, but I mean, as soon as that sun goes down, it gets real cold, which is going to be quite the benefit that we didn't see in the women's game so far. I mean, the temperature of the bodies is going to stay better. They're going to stay a little bit more loose. I mean, the women were out there just absolutely running themselves into full sweat, but I feel like this one's going to be a little bit better on the body for the players.
And this should be a fun matchup here tonight. Caden, this is a much different Husson team than we saw even just a season ago. The Eagles losing, I believe, 3 of their back starting line, as well as the starting goalkeeper, Retschneider, who really was kind of statistically one of the better goalkeepers to ever come through Husson. I think goalkeeper, a difficult position to replace. And then also, it's hard when you lose a lot of players at one position group. If you lose a guy in the midfield, defense, and offense, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But you lost both center backs in Alex Bryant and Ben Shumway, and then you also lost your right back in Domingo Infante. So,
and then not to mention Pedro Molina is on the roster this year, but someone who's not playing tonight.
Molina, I believe, hurting himself in practice earlier this week. Won't be playing here tonight. So that's your entire back line not playing. The Eagles coming out with some new players out there. Most of that midfield still there. I think the other big name out there for the Eagles will be Miguel Morales, who I believe moved on to go play semi-pro soccer in Spain, I want to say.
Yeah, that's the rumor right now, semi-pro in Spain. Obviously, Miguel was a very talented player through the midfield. I wish him all the best. I know he's still very connected to this Husson team, Husson community. I mean, I see him reposting all this stuff online all the time. I mean, he loves it here. He loves this team. But, I mean, bigger and better things. I mean, that is crazy to go play semi-pro out in Spain. So all the best of luck to Miguel.
And we were saying over dinner just that Morales, I think, was probably the most technically skilled player for the Eagles. I think there's other players that you can make a case for as being like the best player out there. I think Masamango and Alvarez being 2 of those names. But Morales kind of had that flow to him that just looked like a professional soccer player, like Neymar or something out there. Of just he could make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was moments where you think it was dead in the water. There might be nothing coming. And then all of a sudden, Miguel Morales does this 360 turn, step over, does all this, and all of a sudden the defense is right up at the goal.
And we're going to hand this one over for the starting lineups to public address announcer Joseph Swanson.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups for tonight's contest. First, for the visiting Huskies, a senior defender, number 33, Vincent Anderson. A junior defender, number 24, Asa Fairley. In goal, a freshman, number 13, Gabe Wagner. A sophomore defender, number 2, Liam Connelly. A junior midfielder, number 4, Colin Albert. A sophomore forward, number 9, Jonah Nartil. A freshman midfielder, number 20, Martin Kelly. A sophomore midfielder, number 21, Jack Brady. A sophomore midfielder, number 23, Benjamin Lewind. A freshman midfielder, number 25, Hansa Newby. And a junior defender, number 27, Curtis Voter. Southern Maine is under the direction of head coach Jim Hopkins. And now, let's meet the starting lineup for your Husson University Eagles. A graduate student captain from Concord, New Hampshire, number 6, Mosi Masimango. In goal, a sophomore from Houston, Texas, number 33, Samuel Bermudez. A sophomore from Caracas, Venezuela, number 5, Victor Blanco. A senior from Madrid, Spain, number 9, Mario Alvarez. A senior from Los Razas, Spain, number 11, Alejandro Mora. A freshman from Auberge, France, number 15, Thibaut Desorme. A sophomore from Bogota, Colombia, number 20, Daniel Noguera. A freshman or sophomore from Barrowville, Rhode Island, number 28, Adam Woods. A senior from Buxton, Maine, number 29, Nate Chamberlain. A senior from Franzfeld, Switzerland, number 30, Florian Gasser. And a graduate student from Farmingdale, Maine, number 39, Josh Neto. The Eagles are coached by Carlos Bermudez, and he's assisted by Matt Goodman. No national anthem. I feel the master. I feel the
Welcome back here on the Husson Eagles Sports Network. We are just about to get underway here, Caden, in what should be another exciting season for this Husson men's team, who looked really good last year, falling in the championship to SUNY Poly, who is now out of the conference. It's kind of door opening for the Eagles to be the big dogs in the North Atlantic Conference. I believe voted number 1 in the preseason polls. Obviously, this is an out-of-conference matchup against this USM team, who we didn't really touch on. Very, very young squad here for the Huskies. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores for this team. Not a whole lot of upperclassmen.
Yeah, and it's hard when a team like that comes in. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores. It's always hard, and it's especially hard when your coach is only in the second year.
You just have no scouting for a team
absolutely.
like this USM team.
So, you're going off of high school statistics, which is far, far, far different than what a college-level game is going to be. And, say this coach was 15 years in and he had a young squad, I think I'd have a little bit more of a, okay, this is what this team is going to look like, because that's going to be implemented deep-rooted into the system.
So you can kind of look at different formations he's run over the years and kind of see what the common formation has been for him out there.
But only second year in, and a team we don't see that often, even though, they're not right down the road, but you know what I mean. They're still in Maine, team we don't see that often, second-year head coach, young team. They're going to come out. They're going to come out firing today, I feel like. They got the young legs on them. I feel very confident that they're going to come out flying, but I feel like Huston's just going to keep beating down on them, trying to find out ways to win deeper down the line.
I would say on paper, the biggest difference between these two teams is definitely the height difference, which we say that a lot when you see this Husson team play. This Husson team is not a big team out there. A lot of this roster, especially.
They play like it, though. That's what's fun about them.
Especially with Molina not out there and with Bryant and Shumway now gone. I bet you the tallest guy is looking like maybe the freshman here in Desorme down at left back, but the rest of this team, I don't think there's much over 5'9" out there in this USM team. A lot of guys in that 6 foot to 6'2" range. So we'll see how the Eagles do kind of in the air here tonight and or physically in the midfield. The Eagles, though, have kind of put themselves forward as one of the more technical midfields in Division III in Maine, I think.
And I feel like that's also something Bermudez brings with him. I was watching old tape. He's a very technical guy, and he was on the Penny staff for a couple years, if I remember right. So he brings that technicality with him.
There's so much to talk about with this Husson team. Some of the changes we didn't even mention. Coach Gavin Penny stepping down as the head coach, moving to a different career path. And Carlos Bermudez, who was one of the assistant coaches under Penny a few seasons ago, taking over that role. He was a student assistant coach for a few years. Remember, Bermudez very technically gifted coach out there. I think he has that one almost a great ball. Good job there from Woods, who's taking over in that central back role. I've already seen some fast pace here from the Huskies early in this one. But Bermudez, from what I remember, I used to go and I've been doing this job now for 3 seasons. And Bermudez used to be the guy I would go talk to before games to just kind of get a feel of who this squad is that's going to take on the Eagles. And I know he would watch a lot of film. I would imagine that's continued now as the head coach role. And Bermudez is one of those coaches that kind of used to draw up a lot of the kind of game plans and who to watch out for when it comes to Husson opponents.
I feel like this season has a weird feeling to it because you kind of want to expect a lot from this team, and you want to see success early. But with a first-year head coach, I mean, the players are still trying to figure out what tactics they want to run with him. Or, I mean, the coach wants to figure out what tactics to run with the player. I mean, it could take a little bit longer than usual to find that groove.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, Caden. I think the one thing I would say is that obviously we mentioned that one almost a great ball in towards Neto, but it's going to stray out for the goal kick. Bermuda is kind of part of that Penny coaching tree. I wouldn't be surprised if we see very similar. We have the same kind of formation that we saw last season for the Eagles with this 4-back line with the 2 outside backs that push up the field and this very strong midfield with just the attacker up front, that it kind of allows them to control that midfield play a lot.
And something that I'm noticing very early on is when Penny was still in control during the spring season games, Victor Blanco was playing like in Mosey's spot. So this central defensive mid, they've got him anchored down in central back now under this Bermudez offense.
Yeah, I think he's a player who we can see is already starting in this one. Might be one of those guys who starts out early. Looks like Bermudez might have picked up a few things from Rechsteiner after watching him all of last year. I think those who watched the Eagles a season ago, Rechsteiner was kind of known for baiting the forwards a little bit, not picking up right away. That was the other big talk, I think, Caden, about who would replace Rechsteiner in goal. Right now it looks like Bermudez the leader in the clubhouse, but I know the Eagles brought in a couple freshman goalkeepers as well.
And it's hard because they have a deep room of underclassmen goalies right now. So it's hard to make that decision. I feel like it's going to be game by game, even when JV games come around. Like you might even see like tense competition going on in those games.
Well, they have, I believe, Bermudez, Jamie Barr being one of the freshmen who came in. We saw Garrett Jordan a few times a season ago. I believe they have a 4th goalkeeper as well, Russell DeWitt, who is out there, who is also in that goalkeeping room. Like you said, not a whole lot of senior leadership in that goalkeeping position, which I find to be one of the most important out there on the field.
I think a majority of that falls back on coaching and what Rechsteiner brought into the room last year. So if Rechsteiner did a good enough job developing these or helping develop the kids in terms of, when I say kids, I mean Garrett Jordan and Samuel Bermudez, but can those tactics also be placed onto Sam and Garrett, bringing it back to the 2 new young guys?
This one a play down the wing. It's going to be the first chance here of this contest. That one's going to stray too far. Chamberlain over there for the Eagles. He's going to try to slide that one off of the USM player. Good job physically there from Chamberlain. Just kind of lay the shoulder down there in the corner. Chamberlain, someone who I think spent a lot of time in the gym over his years here with the Eagles. Has kind of been fighting for a role on this defense ever since he was a freshman. He played a lot of minutes his freshman year, and then the last couple kind of regressed a little bit. But coming out starting week 1 here for the Eagles.
He's another player that you kind of see bounce around a lot of positions. I feel like I remember him playing a lot of central mid or winger, but now he's kind of settled into this left back role.
I think Miguel Duberhall will be another player we'll probably see tonight in that similar position. This is exactly what this kind of defensive formation likes to do. send those wing backs up the right and left sidelines. I think Woods could potentially be a feature part of this defense on the season, Caden. He's someone that didn't get a whole lot of minutes last year, but I think both of us remember that last game of the season. I'm not sure who the Eagles played in that one, but Woods got a lot of time in that contest, and I think really stepped up and played well. I think Pereira, another player who could step up and play a lot of defense as well in his junior season. And Neto there, trying to get it over. Gasser on the ball. Gasser's going to take a shot. That one low and bouncing over. Gasser, a player who really stepped up offensively for Husson last season. I remember he was a guy, Caden, that we talked about early on in the year as just kind of asking who's going to replace Arnie Hreiderson out there, who was one of the better attackers the Eagles have had in recent years. And it was really Gasser who I think filled in a lot of that role. Hugo Lopez, who's now gone from us, and another guy who stepped up. So we'll see if some of these new players can make an impact as well. This one out wide to DeSorm. And a mistouched on that one. His head referee here tonight is Charlie Brown. He's usually known for kind of just letting him play out there a little bit and stepping in when he needs to. And I think some new rules this year, too, that could impact this Eagles team quite a bit. I think the one namely being the new yellow card rule, similar to what got enacted at the European level, at the European national level, that is. Has some nice bit of footwork there from Blanco. He gives this one into the middle to Noguera, and that one's going to get sent out wide. Eagles seem to have a factory of just kind of these speedy, very technical players in the midfield. Anyways, that rule that I was mentioning is just any player not being the captain who tries to communicate with the referee in like in a place where they don't need to be communicating with the referee. I believe it's an instant yellow card. So this Eagles team, who's kind of known as that one in on goal, but great job there from Bermudez to come in and clean that one up. And that one blocked by Alvarez. That was Blanco who just let that USM striker kind of get in behind him. And Noguera just slipping a little bit on that play.
Yeah, just a little bit of miscommunication, whether they go left or right with the defender coming on the back. Just had to be a little bit more cautious with that, but defend well, turn this back over.
But that yellow card rule, Keaton, I think is one that the Eagles definitely had to harp on a little bit in training camp. It's because this is a team that's kind of known for being a little bit talkative out there, especially to the referees. But I really think it could help the Eagles in the long run. Good little crowd filling in tonight as well, Kate. I think we mentioned in the women's game, most students not getting here until Sunday or Monday. I think a lot of the fall athletes here, and obviously I think a lot of upperclassmen have already moved into their apartments and dorms out there. Looks like some of the Husson women's team also coming to support as well. So this throw in here from DeSorm will go short. Noguera into the middle trying to find Gasser. The Eagles haven't looked as good passing so far in this one, Caden, as we've seen them in years past.
Yeah, but I feel like we said that at the start of last year, too. I think that's just a little bit of knock the rust off. I feel like that's true with anybody. I mean, you're trying to get – I think it's especially noticeable this year because they're trying to get used to this new system where they want the players to be – you know what I'm trying to say? They just want to see where the players are going to be, how they're going to react. But I think that's nothing new with the first game of the season jitters.
It's also some new guys out there. I think Nugera starting in that central midfield. That's a new face in that midfield for the Eagles. Also, the Eagles would build a lot from their defensive line. This one's going to be a shot well high. That was a good chance, though. A poor ball boy right now. There's one that just got sent all the way down to the football field. That one up over the top of the crossbar might be headed down towards the football field, knowing that parking lot. But with those two new central backs, Caden, you kind of have to now learn how to pass with them. Rechsteiner, another player who is usually actively involved in the passing game as well. Almost acted as an 11th. I mean, obviously, they're an 11th player out there anyways, but I think some goalkeepers a little less active than Rechsteiner would be.
Nugera is pretty impressive so far in his Husson debut. I believe he is a sophomore, though. I mean, he's winning a lot of battles, doing a lot of the right things so far on this wing.
And Nugera is a player who I believe was around Husson men's soccer a lot of last season. Not sure if it was injury reasons or he just kind of got here a little bit too late. But I know I saw him a lot with this team in the spring. I believe he played for Husson as well during the Spring Cup. And Chamberlain cutting in towards Neto, just a little too far for him.
You really want to see him test this freshman goalie early. Just try to get shots on net, see what happens, see how he reacts. I mean, we see that every once in a while with a freshman keeper playing in their first game. I mean, might be a little bit cold-handed, might drop a couple balls, something like that. You think they'd want to really get in on there.
And something we have heard coming out of camp a little bit is just the Eagles struggling at shooting the ball a little bit. That's something that kind of as the season goes on can change.
I mean, that was pretty obvious in warm-ups. They're shooting it 20 feet above the backup netting, getting it all the way into the parking lot, almost to home plate on the women's softball field.
This one past middle. Masamongo trying to get on it. I think Masamongo's been quietly one of the better players in the North Atlantic Conference ever since I've been at Husson, really. He's one of those guys who doesn't really put up stats, but kind of just is a presence there in the middle. I think with these two new central backs, one a freshman, the other a sophomore who only played about 80 minutes last season. I think it's important to have that veteran leader on the defensive side.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that already. Like, he's not being as aggressive as he normally, like, you see him do 1 to 2 runs probably in a rush, but he's a lot more conservative, a lot more passive about it, is a good way to put it. Like, he's staying more anchored with the central backs.
Well, I think when you had that back line a season ago, along with Rechsteiner as well, Masamongo would push up the field a little bit more and really be part of that central midfield. Right now, it almost feels like he's playing as a fifth center back, or a third center back out there and a fifth defender, which is more what he would do when the Eagles were up in games. But early in this one, I think helping a little bit more on the defensive side. And Blanco trying to send this one up towards Neto. He'll find him. Going back to Nugera here. And first touch here for Bermudez in kind of an offensive role.
USM is very, very passive when Husson has control in the defensive half of the field. Not really rushing, waiting for their moment to attack, get the ball back.
And a great ball towards the corner. This USM team likes to slide a little bit too, Kane. We've seen a number already in this one. Yeah, by the look of it, I would say this Huskies team very much in the counter-attacking formation. This one bouncing out to Alvarez. He's going to take a shot. That one too high, though. Alvarez is known for every once in a while he'll get his knee over that one. One of the better shooters here for this Eagles squad.
What do they call him, the magician?
But it seems like this Huskies team, Caden, is set up a little bit for that. We're going to win the ball in the midfield and then all of a sudden send 5 guys up the field and you're not going to be able to keep track of us. And a late whistle there from the referee. That was a shove in the back there.
I mean, you can see Huskies really want to play this over-the-top ball. I mean, Huston's a little bit more of that tiki-taka style where Huskies are more of that counterattack, get it over the back line, let the offensive players run.
This is a very Maine and New England dominated Huskies team, playing a little bit more American soccer than you might see from this Eagles team. Kind of the counterattacking speed on the offensive side. Really strong defensive group out there. Whereas Husson, like you mentioned, is much more of the kind of we're going to pass around you and cut up through you with dribbling and find those open lanes. That was Nugera who got knocked down hard by number 33 in Vincent Anderson. 6-foot senior out of Anchorage, Alaska. It's a long way to come to the University of Southern Maine. The Eagles, interestingly, had a couple volleyball players from Alaska as well. This one, great ball over the top. And that one into the net. As that was Masamango who gets on it, getting the first goal of the Eagles season. Great ball up over the top of the goalkeeper's hands. I think he misread it a little bit. But the senior coming in strong.
Not only that, what a pass. Mario Alvarez to put that on a dime right on that back post. Masamango just came in unmarked. Freshman goalkeeper didn't make the best read on it, thought he had it in the air. Stretch as much as he could, just couldn't get his fingers on it. Free net for Masamango.
Yeah, and Masamango heard us talking about not much stats on the sheet and said, let me put my name up there then. That was a great play. I think it was definitely misread a little bit by the goalkeeper. Ian Wagner went up for it a little bit too soon. But a great ball from Alvarez up over the top. And Masamango knew just what to do with it. Looks like Pablo Morato will come in at this left back position. And Alejandro Castellanos coming in the midfield. I think he took out Nugero, who we saw have a big hit that led to that free kick that led to that goal. And trying to send this one on to Mora. Mora's name, we haven't said a whole lot today. It's been a little bit quiet. Another one of those kind of talented Spanish midfielders.
I always liked when this midfield trio was in the game last year. The Mora, Alvarez, and then Masamango on the back. I always felt like it was they flowed together very well from offense to defense.
I think Echeverse is another player we'll see tonight in that midfield role. I wouldn't be surprised if he were to come in later in this one for Neto or something and push Gasser up to that solo striker position. You see Morato and Castellanos down here wide open, not really getting covered. Now a few Huskies players ranging over. The Eagles like to kind of overload one side with these outside back positions. And a good step there from number 4 in Colin Albert.
If you want my opinion, the Huskies are going about this all wrong. I think with this back line, a little bit inexperienced, not really Husson-oriented back line that we've seen the last couple of years where it's been all about experience. I think the Huskies are playing too passive. They're letting them get too comfortable on the back line right now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there with Caden. If you were to challenge this back line a little bit, both Woods and Blanco, not to like say that they would struggle in that situation, but just they don't have the experience that some of the guys in years past for Husson had of kind of passing under pressure in a situation where if you give a pass away on the defensive end, it could lead towards a goal scoring opportunity against Bermudez, who similarly is very inexperienced out there.
I mean, that's something we saw in the women's game today. A turnover on the back line from constant pressure that Emmanuel was giving to the Husson defenders. It led to a great opportunity for Emmanuel, who tucked it in. I mean, they had some great shots today, but that was one of the goals where it was not even close to Hannah Kenny's fault.
It's one of those ones, too, with the Eagles. I think they got used to when they had Rechtsteiner. We mentioned Rechtsteiner. I played with him a few times kind of in rec soccer and a few indoor leagues. That he's someone that was almost better in the field than he was in goal, interestingly enough. That I think the Eagles utilized him a lot kind of in the passing game in a situation exactly like this one, where even if players coming running onto him, was able to just kind of calmly deal with it. So far, this Huskies team not really pressuring until the Eagles get around midfield. This one, a great ball over the top to Chamberlain, trying to corral it. He's going to try to get around the defender, gets around and putting a ball across, but that one knocked wide. That was a great run from Chamberlain out on the right wing. Now having to play the tough job of working all the way back. Now Morato bringing up the field. Morato is a guy who's usually, I would say, more of an offensive guy than in this defensive role. And a great step there from Blanco. Morato, I think, caught up on the offense side a little bit. Kind of an interesting position for him. I wouldn't really usually classify him as kind of this outside back position, but more where Castellanos is playing an outside wing position, that he has a little bit less defensive.
Yeah, but when you go through a cleaning like this back line did, I feel like you got to try everything in these first couple of non-conference games.
And Woods is first here, her first chance here, having to deal with that long ball over the top. And doing his job beautifully. See Masamango coming over, giving him a little pat on the back.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous defense. The bench down here loved it.
Substitution entering the game for the Huskies. Number 11, Samir Sayed.
Looks like Duberhall warming up along with Etcheverse down the corner for the Eagles. I would guess Duberhall would go in for Chamberlain. And Etcheverse in for probably one of Gasser, Mora, or Neto.
Duberhall and Etcheverse are two names that we said a lot in that final stretch of the season with the tournament on the line. I mean, those two guys were, I think, the stars of, like, two of the most notable names from that run right there.
Etcheverse had a really good tail end of the season. Duberhall stepped up big defensively, especially, remember, Infante having some of the troubles with the referees towards the end of the season. And the Eagles having to bring in Duberhall to kind of replace him out there. I believe he might have missed kind of the last couple games of the year. And Blanco going over to Gasser now. This one, ball up over the top, trying to find Chamberlain. And it's going to get knocked back towards Mora. Mora trying to go in towards goal. This one, and that was Neto who was trying to get a touch on it. The kind of Huskies player kind of all over his shoulder.
Chamberlain's very, very comfortable right now. Like, I feel like I haven't seen this version of Chamberlain yet in our, especially last year. I mean, he's made a couple good runs, couple good passes, been very good defensively so far.
I know Chamberlain's someone that I know pretty well off the field. He spends a lot of time at the practice field. I mean, all these guys do, but Chamberlain, I would say especially, has put a lot of work in off the field, trying to earn that starting role for the Eagles. I know when he was a freshman, he started a number of games and then not as much the next 2 seasons.
This is the same play Husson just used.
And just as we're talking about Chamberlain, it looks like the referee coming over to have a little conversation with him. Him and that Huskies player kind of shoving back and forth a little bit. And this one back post. Lots of Mongos there. And it's going to get kicked out wide. That should be a Husson throw. I believe Chamberlain played his high school soccer at Buxton. Kind of down that southern region. I wouldn't be surprised if he played against some of these older Huskies players. A lot of this Huskies team from that kind of Cumberland County area. Portland and the surrounding towns. So Blanco bringing this one up the field. He's going to go in towards Morato. Morato very strong on the ball always. Morato's one of those players that I think is honestly one of the more kind of talented guys out there, but has had kind of a long list of just small nagging injuries over his career with the Eagles.
He's got a club on today. I wouldn't want to mess with him.
Yeah, I'll have to ask him about that after the game. It looks like it's just his thumb. I'm not sure if it's a full broken arm, but it might be.
The thumb is really wrapped up compared to the rest of the arm, though. I mean, it is really wrapped up either way you look at it, but the thumb seems very focused on.
So Blanco missing a touch on that one. This one's going to go out wide. Woods having to go out on the right wing. And Morato there to just clear this one wide.
I'm very interested about the communication when it comes to switch-offs, who's got who in these situations for the Eagles where they do have that young, inexperienced back line with each other.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who would have been the starter and who wouldn't have been the starter between Woods and Blanco if Molina had been playing in this one. Pretty sure he's been playing central back for the Eagles this season, despite how good he is at that outside back role. I think you just need that senior experience, as Moore is going to bring this one all the way up the field to Castellanos. Back post run. A little too far for Neto, though. But keeping that one in play. Great slide there from Neto. That's a hustle and a half.
Yeah, that's great effort.
As finding Alvarez, nice little bit of footwork, but just a few too many defenders around him. He beat one guy. It's kind of hard to get through 2 or 3 at this level.
It's weird how aggressive they are on defensive end versus how unaggressive they are when Huston has the ball trying to come up the field.
I'll be interested to see if that strategy changes as this game goes on, if the score stays the way it is, or especially if the Eagles were to get up by more than one. Once you get up by more than one, that counterattack offense kind of becomes weaker and weaker. That's not something you see all that often. Jose Masamango getting beat on the defensive end. Good step there from Blanco right into that turn. But leaving that hole, Castellanos, though, ranging back, will find Morato. That's one of those scary little plays the Eagles are pretty good at, though. I'll have to sit down. This is my first day. I think both of us are first day back on campus, Kate. I think you might be going home for a few days after this one, but I'll have to sit down with some of these guys after this one and just kind of figure out a little bit what it's looked like they're doing out there formation-wise. I think the main one I'm interested in is it's Woods or Blanco starting at that central back role along with Molina. Blanco's looked solid. We've seen him kind of misstep a few plays, but that's really the only knock on him so far in this one. And Chamberlain, looked like he got a lot of ball on that one, helped up by the other player. So I don't think a That was not foul call. This one, ball towards the back, finding Mora. Mora with a little space. Going to find Neto, putting that one wide, though. And Etcheverse is going to take Gasser out of the contest for now. Guessing Gasser will re-enter this one.
Substitutions entering the game for the Eagles.
And Duberhall coming in for Chamberlain.
That was a great first 30 from Chamberlain.
He looked good out there at that right wing back position. And kind of off camera a little bit. Looks like Bermuda's having a little conversation with Gasser. I don't think anything to it, just kind of something to touch on with the new coaching. Just that feedback from the player to the coach after they come off the field and in between stuff.
Especially when you're a first-year head coach. And I feel like you got to lean on your seniors a little bit. Like, all right, look, what's going on here? Connect me with the players. Help me out. I think Bermudez does have a little bit of a better edge with that when you talk about that he was with this team for quite a while as a player and then as a player assistant.
Well, it's interesting, too, that I would have said Bermudez, especially I think with the seniors and juniors on this squad, when he was coaching for them, he was a student assistant coach, so he wasn't really technically on the coaching staff, I don't think. I mean, I think he was, but it was more, he spent a lot of time personally with the players, so I would say he knows a lot of these guys on a much deeper level than you might see from a normal coach, as he was almost more one of the players on the team rather than a coaching staff out there.
As that student assistant, you're the bridge between what the players are feeling and what the coach is feeling. You got to calm the tensions in the room. I feel like that isn't talked about enough on how important that job is when it comes to team morale. But so he got really close with all these players, and now he gets to lead them. I think that brings a good level of confidence with these kids because they know they can do a little bit more, and their coach has their back.
Well, it's also one of those ones, too, for Bermudez. I'm sure it was tricky a little bit for him to kind of change that dynamic a little bit. I'm not your friend anymore. I'm your head coach kind of thing.
Yeah.
We can still be friends, but it's a different dynamic now that I'm the one in charge. You guys kind of listened to me before, but now I am the one person that you were supposed to be listening to.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you and your buddy work together, now your friend becomes the boss. And now you kind of have to, now it's a weird situation.
And we saw Alvarez last season make a few of these from the corner. I wouldn't be surprised if we might see him doing kind of the same corner kick routine we saw them do a season ago. Just pack the box, get in the goalkeeper's face, put something, bend it in towards the goal, kind of just let people knock it around. But now missing, like Alex Bryant, really the big name that comes to mind. He was 6'4" out there and often rose up on these type of ones.
Wow, that was close though.
I was on target. I think if there's no goalkeeper there, that one's in the back of the net. But a good job from Wagner. But I've heard overall really positive stuff. I have a number of friends on this team about Coach Bermudez that it's kind of it's a changing of the guard a little bit, and it's allowed the Eagles to kind of reset their identity a little bit with a lot of the same players. This one bouncing around in the middle. Bermudez, though, good job to keep his eye on that. That's tricky for a goalkeeper. That didn't look like it had a whole lot behind it. But you're trying to see that through 3 or 4 different players out there.
Yeah, I mean, between the legs of your own defender, still being able to make that save, that is a tough play. Definitely deserves his kudos there.
But I've heard that Bermudez has been great for this team in training camp so far. We'll see if that translates out onto the field. And good job there from Bermudez. That's a tough play as an inexperienced goalkeeper. That's in that gray area, Caden, where it's kind of, do I come out, do I stay in?
Yeah.
And that's one of those ones that if you're going to be that top-end guy and the consistent starter, you need to be able to make those decisions every time with a pretty high degree of accuracy.
But you can kind of see the pressure on the back line is mounting I mean, we talked about it a little bit. USM was very, very passive at the start of this game. But, I mean, right there you can see them trying to attack, trying to force that error, get a shot on goal.
Yeah, final 10 minutes here of this first half. The Eagles got a little bit off guard. Couple players out on the wing for USM. Good step there from Mora just to slow it down a little bit potentially. And that one's going to be a corner kick. Kind of in that tricky area of if that's a foul, that could be a penalty kick. So we'll see how the Eagles, we mentioned that height, Keaton, at the start of this. We'll see how they handle. You can see really, I think just about every player out there is matching up against a guy a few inches taller than them.
I mean, Duberhall does add some height with that substitution.
And Blanco managing to jump up and head that one clear. It's not always about being the tallest guy. Obviously, there's a fair amount with kind of your vertical leap, but also just positioning and the timing of your jump, I think. If you time that jump well and you position yourself well, you can beat the tallest guy in the room. And Masamongo is going to send this one way up the field. That is just going to stray its way wide. And Neto almost a chance at that one. And Blanco's going to head that one down to Alvarez, finding Echeverse. Echeverse kind of got...
That's a weird tangle up right there.
I think he had the handball right before getting kind of grabbed out there. If you kind of look at just the tail end of that one, it looks like a foul against USM, but...
Yeah, they're hugging it out. Exchanging Thanksgiving card info.
And... we'll see what happens out there. And Blanco bringing this one up the field. He's going to try to find Castellanos. I do think it's interesting, Caden, that it can be hard. The difference between in-game coaching is a big difference between that practice coaching and the locker room coaching out there. That in-game coaching, there's a lot more tension there. There's a lot more happening. And there's a lot more kind of that, I'm blanking on the word I'm trying to find here, but just kind of that.
A lot more emotion in the players.
A lot more emotion out there. A lot more diplomacy, I think. That's where I was trying to go with it, of having that connection between the coach and the player. Needs to be the coach is giving them advice, but it needs to be in a way that kind of works out there. And it's tough, I think, for a lot of first-year coaches. Good move there from Morato. Trying to go up towards the middle. This one kind of bouncing around. And it's going to find its way into the midfield. Fast break opportunity here. Great ball towards the right wing. We'll see if Blanco can get back. He is going to get in front of this one. Now back towards the left wing. The Eagles caught off guard. Mora again, though. This is the second time we've seen him come back on the defense. And good job there, I think, for Mora to just stop that one. Let that team reset.
Yeah, you kind of saw a defensive communication lapse. You had two guys on the same player. I mean, it should have been an easy 2-on-2, man-to-man right there, but two guys on one player allowed one to walk freely down the sideline.
Well, that's that just inexperience, I think, a little bit too, Keaton. This back line really, I mean, Duberhall played a fair amount of minutes last season. Duberhall played over 1,000 last year, but I think he played a little bit more, played at that wing back and then also kind of at a wing position. Morato, I don't think, has really played as much at this wing back position. And then the two center backs, I mean, we mentioned it, you have 76 combined game minutes between the two of them out there, going from a team that had Shumway average over 1,400 a season for 5 years, And then Bryant, who played almost all the minutes out there. That back line for the Eagles last year would stay in there for basically the full 90 minutes. You didn't really see them leave a whole lot. And Mora shooting chance. This one too high, though. That was a good chance for Mora.
Yeah, other than that missed shot by Neto, that was all Mora. Mora did a great job in the midfield setting that up. Got it off to Neto. Neto took a miss hit. Then Mora just over the net. Another great opportunity for the Husson Eagles.
And Mora's looked impressive here down the stretch.
I think the one thing that stands out for me for Mora, though, is the defense. The defense has really taken a step up compared to what we saw from him last year.
This one fighting for it in the midfield. Duberhall stepping up, not managing to get there, though. This one out wide to Blanca. And really, Kate, I think both of us, former high school players, this is great soccer weather out there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit chilly day, or a bit chilly night, that is, after a hot day.
Good job there from Masamango coming back on defense. It looked like the Eagles got caught a little off guard. Blanco seemed to have struggled, I would say, with those balls kind of behind him. He's been good at covering his guy, but not at covering that run coming in behind him, which really, that's like a tough critique to give a freshman defender out there. That's something you learn over time. That it's not something you see at the younger levels as much. I mean, obviously, a lot of these guys have played at pretty strong levels of play over there the last 5 or 6 years.
And it's a tough critique when you also factor in the part that obviously we don't know what his position was before he came to Huston, but during the Gavin Penny spring ball era, he was playing that central defensive midfield or playing that more of where you see Castellanos right now running down the wing.
Yeah, and that's a really just that central midfield role is totally different. That you always have players behind you usually. You don't have to worry about those guys behind you because if you miss that run, usually your center back has that position. But now as the center back, you got to watch those guys behind you because if you miss them, that can lead to a lot of stuff. Castellanos open on the wing, but not seen there by Masamango. Etcheworth is going to try to make the ball, though. We'll see if he's on sides. Flag stays down. Castellanos ball back to the middle. Not there, though. So he was trying to go back to Mora. And a good chest there from Woods. Woods has been really solid in this one, Caden. We haven't said his name in a negative way this whole night. Really only positive things about him so far.
Yeah, he's done a really great job. He's doing everything right that you want him to do right. Obviously, again, a little bit of miscommunication on the defensive end of things, but, I mean, that's nothing you can hold against a young back line. I mean, Woods has done a great job holding his own, making sure his assignment is marked, doing a great job clearing the ball, making it to the offense as soon as he gets it.
Well, it's a young back line, and it's also, so it's going to be a corner kick opportunity here for the Eagles. Different formation than we see them normally do. No one's covering Alvarez out here up at the top of the 18. I might go to him on this one as it's going to get blocked away by the defense.
Yeah, I think Mario Alvarez wanted it. You can see him yell down to Mora after the play. Quick exchange of words as they go again at the same play.
He's someone that if you're not going to cover him up here at this part, he can shoot lefty or righty pretty easily. All he needs is one touch as they are going to go to him. He's going to put this ball back in towards the box and bouncing around. Still there, but now counterattack opportunity. Morato is going to get a card for that, I would imagine, but that's a tactical foul. Yeah, there was nothing kind of, Morato wasn't trying to come in and hurt anybody on that one. That's just you're the last defender back. If you don't make that tackle, it's a free play up the wing for the Huskies.
Yeah, full speed Full speed for the Huskies player on the counterattack, and then full speed on the tackle trying to stop the counterattack. I mean, it did look pretty violent, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was the most gruesome tackle we've seen from this Huston Eagles team, but I think it was certainly border edge card worthy.
That one there. For those who haven't watched, I'm going to guess that most people tuning into this watch a fair amount of soccer. And it's just a great tactical foul, I think, from Morato. The Eagles holding this one up by the lacrosse restraining line. And it's going to work out perfectly. But now chance on the way side back. Morato, a little bit of contact out there. Morato might want to watch his back a little bit after that tackle on the other side.
Yeah, you don't want to go down with another yellow here. Then you got the red card, and then you got to go full 45 minutes without a player on the field.
And it's sort of, how much trust does Bermudez have in Morato? Morato, I think, has had a little bit of trouble on the sort of disciplinary side over his years with the Eagles. And the Eagles here just trying to run out this clock, I think, in this first half. They'll take a 1-0 lead into halftime. I think there was some positive stuff there from both teams, Caden.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit more firepower than we thought we would kind of see. I mean, great set pieces plays from, that's obviously all coaching from Bermudez, but amazing execution by the players. Something you really like to see, especially early on in the year. I mean, they're definitely late in the year. We saw the set pieces really come into play for the Eagles. So it's nice to see they're continuing where they left off.
And the Huskies, I think, they played their formation well. They weren't pushing up the field. I wouldn't be surprised if they open it up a little bit more as this game goes on, but they were content to sit back. They handle the very tough Eagles offensive group out there. They didn't lose a whole lot of guys on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely towards that end of that first half, you kind of saw them start, okay, we got to attack that back line a little bit more. I would be surprised if they don't come out gunning for the back line here in this second half.
And we're going to take a break here on the Husson Eagles Sports Network and be back for second half action. I'm Avery Henningsen alongside Caden Trenowith. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Husson Eagles Sports Network. I'm Avery Henningsen alongside Kane Trenowith here. So we bring you second half action of this Husson men's soccer taking on the University of Southern Maine Huskies. Currently the Eagles lead 1-0 off of a goal coming from Mozi Matsumongo. A beautiful ball in from Alvarez on a free kick. It's pretty much the same group we saw at the end of the first half. Little bits of changes though. Looks like Chamberlain and DeSorm back out there. So Duberhall now getting pushed into more of a attacking wing position. And then the two changes, players we didn't see in the first half being Beckett Parkin now in that midfield role. And Carson Sear, a freshman out of Madawaska. Madawaska is one of those weird schools that just kind of like produces soccer talent up there. You know, have for a long time been one of the better high school programs in the state. Sear, kind of a difference between a lot of these other guys on this Husson team. A little bit bigger, a little bit kind of one of those players who can kind of crash around up top a little bit. And Parkin, a sophomore, who we were just saying here off air when we saw him coming in. We didn't see him a whole lot last season. Only played just over 200 minutes, which decent amount of time, but I always thought he looked really strong out there in the midfield.
Yeah, I believe he had a game or two where he actually played like 60, 70 minutes or so, and he looked good for every single one of those minutes. I think it's just a crowded midfield right now, and I just find it hard to where you're going to put Beckett. Like, he's a solid depth guy right now, but with the seniority with Mario, Matsumongo, and Mora, and then Echeverse you got to put in that conversation. It's hard to find that spot for Beckett to come in.
And this one trying to find DeSorm over the top. We saw Chamberlain and DeSorm start at those outside wing-back positions earlier in this contest. Chamberlain looked great over the first 30 minutes or so. This is more where we saw Duberhall, I think, a lot last season. Kind of this wing position as we started to get harder and harder to see numbers out there, especially the Eagles with the black numbers on the back of the gray jerseys in that far corner. It's kind of an interesting light, shadows and stuff out there.
There's a lot of glare off the lights right now.
I always love a night game here at Boucher Field. I've had some great ones over the seasons that I've called. I think my first year on the broadcast, the one that comes to mind is definitely the Thomas Farmington playoff game that was hosted by Husson. That one went to double overtime and then penalty kicks. I think me and then broadcaster Isaac Potter got out of here around midnight for that contest. It started at like 7:30 and then went to double overtime and then 2 sets of penalty kicks. We're up here broadcasting for like 3 hours. But it definitely makes it fun. This one ball over the top. Matsumongo trying to get there. And I don't think Mozi Matsumongo touched that one at all. Just kind of shepherded it toward the keeper.
Yeah, a little bit of that miscommunication there. Bermuda is originally coming out to play that ball, but then backing off almost immediately. I think Matsumongo must have got a little touch on it just to poke it past the defender.
That was a mistake there from Chamberlain. Kind of lazy with the pass, had to get back to try to get on it, and made the foul there. This one's going to get crossed towards the back post. Kind of a hesitation one on that one. Bermuda is leaping up and making the play. Ran into his own player, though. I think that's Blanco who went down. It's a tough one. That was a great read there from Bermudez to leap up and make that play. Blanco getting back to his feet. Had to go over the top of a few guys to try to get on top of that one. That's the stuff you like to see, though, from a sophomore goalkeeper who only played a couple games last season. This one's sent low. It's going to get cleared off the front line. I don't think you're going to get those ones past this Eagles defense all that often. But I think Bermuda's there. Those are the ones you got to make. You got to control your box. Bermuda's only 5'10". You see a lot of goalkeepers upwards of 6 feet. So it's kind of about those goalkeepers who can position themselves well and time those tackles. Obviously, you have the added height as the goalkeeper with your hands that most players don't have. So 5'10" can become 6'2" pretty easily.
Yeah, and that's something you kind of saw there. Like, everyone's jumping up, but you see the white gloves with the red sleeves coming out of nowhere to punch that ball away. It was just a tremendous read and a tremendous play on the ball, especially in that crowded area. That's something you might see an inexperienced goalkeeper kind of struggle with at first.
Well, a lot of it's about just kind of that decision-making to say, I'm going to just leap up, kind of sacrifice my body a little bit to get up and get this one and knock this out of here. I'm not letting up this goal. And, again, Woods making a good play out there. Woods has impressed me so far in this one. With defenders, you like when we don't say their name a whole lot kind of thing. When they're really just shutting stuff down and making the plays when they need to. Kind of filling that central back role exactly how you want them to. Kind of similar to Alex Bryant almost. That Bryant wasn't a player that made many defensive plays that kind of were eye-popping, but it was more just really, really solid. It didn't let anything by him. The two wingbacks last year for Husson in Molina and Infante. This one, a great ball in towards Chamberlain. It's going to get shoved off the ball, though. Still alive here. I think that's Sear who was trying to get to it. Duberhall is going to go out wide to Sear. Sear trying to put a ball back in. This one bouncing. And it's going to find its way back up the field. Just sent forward. Another good step there from Woods. That one a good pass to Etchevers. And an idea there trying to find Castellanos, I think. I would say from watching this one, Caden, I think Woods might have earned potentially at least a big role in the central defense for this season for the Eagles. And it's desperately in need of that position.
Yeah, him and Blanco have really done a good job at playing off each other, doing a great job clearing the ball when it needs to be cleared, but also recognizing the situation that they're in. Obviously, there's been a few mental lapses with, not seeing the run, picking up the wrong guy, but first game of the season, not a lot of experience between the two. That is expected to happen. It's expected. And I'm going to keep saying that until we're probably into conference play. Like, you're probably going to see a lot of mistakes at first, but these two have done a really good job at cleaning up their mistakes and doing a great job playing through it.
This Husson team, similar to the women's side, having a lot of out-of-conference matchups to start off the season. Take on Wentworth next Sunday.
Which was a really fun game last year.
I believe that was our opening game of the season, potentially. I think your first broadcast, actually, Caden. And they'll take on Suffolk University before hosting Bowdoin at home. Bowdoin, usually one of the better teams in New England. Polar Bears are always dangerous to take on, so the Eagles are going to have to go through the gauntlet early in the season.
And they wrap it up with Tufts at the end of the season, which is never an easy matchup.
Tufts was the team that beat the Eagles in the NCAA tournament a few years ago when the Eagles won the championship for the North Atlantic Conference, moved on to the divisional regionals. They lost to the Jumbos in that one. This one sent in towards the box. It's going to get popped up in the air. Still a chance. Bermudez, though, strong hands will come up and make the play. That Jumbo's team a few years ago, I think, went on a decent little run. Had a lot of physicality, I remember, was the main thing from them. But that Eagles team was really, really technically skilled in the middle and just kind of got bullied out there. But Husson hung with them for a lot of that game. I think it's a good scheduling point, though, Caden, that it gives you that right before the playoffs. You don't want to get lax. You don't want to come into the playoffs having kind of trounced a bunch of opponents that are inferior to you, and allow the Eagles to kind of get their mojo back a little bit late in the season, even if it comes at a loss. This one, a shot off the crossbar, and that one's home. As
That was just an amazing ball played in. I mean, you can't really, that's a hard defensive error.
I believe that was Jack Brady who got up there and made that play off the crossbar.
Yeah, just a tad miscommunication, but an absolute night. That was a brilliant ball played in right onto the back post, an easy volley, bar down. It's a hard ball for Bermudez to get to.
I think he got a hand on it, too.
Yeah, but I mean, still, even to get just a fingertip on it is crazy.
And Brady, a sophomore out of Jensen Beach, Florida. The captain already for this team as a sophomore. Had 3 goals and 5 assists a season ago. Will get his first goal here tonight. So that will tie it back up, Caden. The Eagles have really been in control for a lot of this one, but coming out in the second half, it's looked more USM possession so far.
Yeah, USM definitely made the right adjustments at the half, and I feel like you can see that pretty early. They're putting more pressure on the ball when it's in the offensive third. As soon as the Huston defender gets a ball, they're trying to make sure they get back there, they get on it, try to force that error. They're really forcing a lot more mistakes than we've seen in that first half from the Eagles.
So Woods will depart for Alvarez. It looks like Masamongo is going to drop back to center back, and Alvarez will take over in that central defensive role. I do think we mentioned it a lot in the women's game as well, where we saw Coach Mullins have a lot of different substitutions out there. That it's kind of just Coach Bermudez right now obviously wants to win this one. His first game as a head coach here for the Eagles, but also this is a setup for a lot more of the season as well, where you kind of need to test some players in a few different spots.
I know Coach Bermudez was pretty nervous before the game when he was up here. He was like, just kind of, you could tell he was nervous. He turned in his roster sheet like an hour before game time. Normally it's only like 30 minutes before. I mean, he came well prepared, but I'm very interested to see how he coaches now in this, I mean, final 30 minutes, tied game, stress goes up, tempers go up. I mean, I'm very interested to see how he controls the troops, see what he does here.
We'll see what he does with substitutions as well. There are a number of offensive guys on that bench right now for the Eagles, especially Mora and Gasser, 2 names that I could see getting put into more offensive roles. I do think it's hard, too, with the amount of changes on the defensive end. You're kind of lacking in a few defenders, especially with Weinstein and Molina not playing here tonight. Those are 2 other guys who would see time on the defensive end. Chamberlain trying to clear this one. Good block there by Blanco. And Parkin trying to come in and make that play. This one's going to go out wide. Eagles, some runners up the middle. You have Sear in the middle. Duberhall out on this near side. This one, Castellanos trying to find Sear. Sear trying to get a hold of it. Duberhall shot that one too high, though. This is what the Eagles have been struggling with, I think, a little bit, Caden.
Yeah, I mean, that one's...
That's a tough shot there, but...
It is a tough shot, but, I mean, skying into the parking lot is never ideal. I mean, that was Bermudez's point coming into this. It's been really tough trying to hit the net right now, trying to find the target, score a couple goals. That one went way over.
I think also here for the Eagles, it's one of those ones that I would almost take a little bit off of it. I think they just get a little too excited. Sear running through that one at his head up. That was almost kind of a little bit of a dangerous play. Was looking up towards the ball. So was the defender. Could have had some strong contact down there on that one. But you get a little bit too amped up here in this home opener. Like if you just take a little bit off, at least put stuff on target. You don't need to score a screamer. You kind of go bottom corner. That's the same as putting it into the upper 90.
Goal's a goal, no matter which way you put it. If it puts a point on the board, they'll take it.
Right now, a pretty young group up on the offensive end. Castellanos, Duberhall, and Sear, kind of the three forwards right now for the Eagles. And Castellanos trying to keep this one in play, but it's going to range wide. That's two sophomores and a freshman out there. No, both Castellanos and Duberhall, I believe, have career goals. Duberhall only one, and Castellanos had two. No, the stats from last year were a little bit messed up by that Linden game the Eagles played. It's kind of a lot of guys who got on the board offensively in that one. And that's exactly right there why Parkin's pretty strong in that midfield. It's going to be a handball. Just tried to dribble through a few too many guys out there. So now counting down under 30 minutes. We'll see what the Eagles and the Huskies can do down this stretch. The Huskies have done a good job, Caden, of sticking to their strategy in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they didn't do a good job changing on the fly in the first half, but coming out in the second half, you can definitely see the changes. They definitely noticed what they had to do to make an impact on this game. They've done a great job so far, putting the pressure on, playing their game, getting more chances offensively.
And that one looked like a freaking picture perfect of the play from earlier. Kind of got deja vu on that. As Alvarez tried to put that one to the back post to Masamanga, but different goalkeeper in Aldo Bryant will get a hold of it. Good job there from Parkin finding the outlet pass. And the Eagles wanted the momentum on that one rather than blowing the whistle. Oh, it's an injury down here. I think that's Masamongo. It's getting stretched out by.
Cramping up.
That's not a player if you're the Eagles right now with all the injuries on the defense and or the new defensive players. Maybe it's a good thing you had Woods come out for a little bit. So Matsumongo getting back to his feet. I didn't see him really get hit on anything out there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure just standard leg cramp. I don't think he's come out this entire game. First game of the season, you're going your full 100%.
Well, really just first couple weeks back, too, for a lot of these guys. I know, pretty sure men's soccer also did double sessions, similar to the women's team, which can be exhausting out there. And Bermuda's missed touch there. He's going to have time to get it out to Chamberlain, though. That's that kind of difference between him and Rechsteiner, I think, a little bit. Rechsteiner was very, very sure-footed. Duberhall is going to try to get this one up to Castellanos.
USM's bench is getting very vocal, too. They're getting very much into this game. They were very dead in that first half.
That's what a goal will do for you. Huskies, I think, having a little more energy in the second half. Some good passing down here between Duberhall and Chamberlain. Sear trying to cut inside. That one's going to get cleared out wide for, I believe, a corner kick. And we'll go out for a corner. This is Alvarez's side too, Caden. Where we've seen him score a couple times.
Don't jinx it. We don't talk about it until we see it.
Though it looks like the Eagles are setting up for more of that top of the 18 play rather than crowding in around the goalkeeper. And as I say that, they change their mind and move in all towards the goalkeeper.
A lot of warm-ups going on the Eagles sideline, too. You got Gasser, Mora, and can't tell who the third guy is.
That's Pereira stretching, but I'm not sure if he's coming in for this contest or if he's just kind of staying warm down there. Pereira's a guy that we saw a little bit towards the end of the year, too, was a pretty strong defensive presence. We saw him and Woods in a couple contests.
And they worked good together, too.
So I think referee Charlie Brown here trying to talk through this scrum around the goalkeeper. It's a pretty common strategy to crowd the goalkeeper. But then those players get pushed around. I'm sure as soon as this whistle blows and the kick goes up, you're going to see about 8 fouls happen right there. But none of those are going to get called. As this one in towards the box and cleared off the back line. That was like in the goal basically, Caden, but just not clear.
Yeah, if we had the systems, that one would be a goal line camera type of play right there. That was so close from this angle.
I'm not even sure who cleared it. There was just a scrum down there. The goalkeeper missed the first play. There was a header in. I was all prepared to call the goal on that one. But gets cleared off the back line. So it'll be Mora and Gasser coming in. I'm going to guess it'll be Chamberlain and Parkin coming out. So Duberhall will take back over outside back. And Gasser is going to move up on the offensive end. The Eagles maybe switching things up a little bit here. Parkin playing some solid minutes here in this first game. Wouldn't be surprised if he has a little bit of a bigger role this season. This one sent back to Masamongo. Now out wide to Duberhall. He's going to find Mora. Mora giving the overlapping run here to Duberhall. He has Gasser and Sear in the middle. That one's going to find its way to Sear. And I think Sear should have made that pass back to Mora there. And Alvarez is going to scoop it up. Finding Mora. Mora gets it poked away, though. Just had players all around him. Eagles looking a little bit.
Yeah, they got stretched out bad there for a minute. Luckily, USM did not capitalize for their part, but Husson was really leaning, tipping over to one side. USM did an amazing job getting him out.
It's a scary ball to send back to Bermudez there. That's one I think Masamongo's still a little bit used to Rechsteiner being in goal. That's probably going to be a card here on Castellanos. So that's a yellow card awarded to Castellanos. So we'll have a free kick coming up here for the Huskies. That was definitely a rough tackle down there. It was kind of one of those weird ones, though, that they were both coming in at the ball at the same time. I think it got away from Castellanos, was trying to slide out and grab it.
I mean, it's a tough sport. Sometimes there's a tough play every once in a while. I mean, you don't want to see a player get hurt. Obviously, first game of the season. But, I mean, close game now. We got 23 minutes left. The tensions are going to rise. The tackles are even going to probably even get harder than that.
This one sent in towards the box. And Bermudez and a player there for USM getting there at the same time. I think it gets hard too, Caden, that there's been a couple calls now that the referee has awarded the cards, but it's been rough tackles from the Eagles. It's been kind of one-sided. So now the Huskies, I think, you could see some kind of sort of retaliation tackles early on in this season.
I mean, again, the Huskies aren't a team that we normally see. I don't know how they play. I don't know anything about them. I mean, this is just Eagles soccer at this point. This is how they play. This is always what they've done, especially all of last year. This is how they played. Rough soccer, especially in these close games. They're just going to try to beat you down until they get the advantage.
Yeah, and you don't even have Molina or Infante out either.
I mean, those guys are normally picking up cards in the first 5 seconds.
Molina might be the most carded player in the last 3 years for the Eagles. And he knows it.
I think he set that record his freshman year.
This is a spot that Alvarez.
He hit this against Farmington.
Yeah, and freshman goalkeeper here in Aldo Bryant. Could see Alvarez taking a pop at this one. He's going to choose to send this one in, though, and this is going to get cleared wide for a throw-in. This one's still fighting around in the box. Huber Hall there. He's going to try to send a ball back in. Good little touch to Etcheverse. Turning in the box and cleared out. This one's going to go straight to the Huskies, though. And now counterattacking opportunity. They got speed out here. This is Martin Kelly who had the ball, but a good step there from, I'm not even sure who that is. I think Blanco came in streaking for that one. Wouldn't be surprised. We'll see what the Eagles choose to do. Could see Woods going back out there for the defensive side of things.
Bermudez has done a very good job at calming down the bench. I mean, they've been up and yelling about a couple fouls. He's done a very good job sitting him back down, keeping him calm, making sure the bench doesn't pick up a foul.
Well, with the new rules this year, I believe the benches can get yellow cards. Also, celebration-wise, any player entering the field of play. So Castellanos with that yellow card will come out. The last thing the Eagles want to do this early in the season is get one of those players a second yellow and then have them miss a game early on in the year. These games aren't obviously that important for the overall season for the Eagles. I think it would come if they were to win the championship and send their way to the regionals. And Bermudez will catch this one. I believe if you get your way all the way to the regionals, it's one of those plays where the more out-of-conference games you win, the better seeding you get. But that's a long way away, and the Eagles don't really need to worry about that. You want to focus on conference games first.
Especially where they're playing those NESCAC schools. I mean, you got to take it. I think it's going to be more about how they played against them.
And taken away here. That one shot strong. That was DeSorm who came in off the defensive end. That was a good shot on target there for the Eagles. So final 20 minutes here of this contest. Been a little bit tense here in the last 10. With a big kick up over the top. Goalkeeper to goalkeeper. That one up over the top. Coach Bermuda's down there trying to get Sear and Gasser to kind of move around together, and that's Alvarez who went down hard after that collision.
Yeah, tape up on the knee. I think he might have collided at least somewhere around that leg.
Looks like he just grabbed his ankle a little bit. I think him and the player for the Huskies kind of collided with each other going for that 50-50 ball.
Yeah, they both
that's
went legs up for it.
That's one that might just take a second to kind of run off a little bit. Alvarez, another guy you just don't want to be missing come conference part of the season. That one well wide of the offensive player. It's going to get taken away by the Huskies, though. Alvarez definitely being a little bit ginger, I think, on that foot.
Yeah, he's also playing that central defensive mid. Somewhere you don't really think, someone with Alvarez's technicality up the field.
His offensive prowess
yeah.
has been one of the leading goal scorers for the Eagles. I would almost rather take one of the other offensive guys off, put Woods back in, move Matsumongo up the field, and move Alvarez up the field a little bit. Do you think Matsumongo very comfortable in that central defensive role? It's more you don't really have that player who fits perfectly into where he plays normally. So DeSorm trying to get around the outside here. That could have been a handball call, I think. You go out wide to Duberhall. Back to Matsumongo. Eagles right now being patient with the ball. Sear trying to flick that one on towards Gasser. Won't get a touch on it, though. That one happened a little bit behind the referee. Ball up over the top. Matsumongo trying to get there. And he's just going to clear that one out wide. But it will be a throw-in in an advantageous position here for the Huskies.
Substitution entering the game for Southern Maine, number 29, Connor Leclerc.
We'll see what the Eagles do as this one stretches on. Looks like Puerta maybe potentially warming up down there. And this one fighting for is Kelly. Kelly has a lot of speed up there on the offensive side for the Huskies. Great little ball in. Another pass towards the backside. Kind of dribbling around in the box. I think good job to just clear that one out of there by the Eagles. That's one that if you have a more senior goalkeeper, you let them grab that one, but you don't want to have that miscommunication and just leave the ball sitting in the middle of the box out there.
Now that the game's tied, I feel like USM went a little bit more passive. I mean, they're still up a lot further than they originally were, but they are still not trying to attack too much when Huston has the ball on their defensive end.
Definitely moved it up the field, though. In the first half, it was really, they would only challenge at midfield. Now kind of pushing up a little bit. Trying to go over the top to Sear. That ball a little too under hit, though. Almost a great idea. See if they can maybe get that same run here. Matsumongo cutting up through the middle. That's that central defensive play right there. You see him make that run a lot. Usually not at the center back position, though. Alvarez trying to slow down this attack a little bit. That ball behind. Dangerous one. Kind of tackle behind the play. They're going to play advantage here. Mora trying to move up the field. And knocked away. Now Duberhall with it. Duberhall cutting up through the middle. The Eagles trying to push up offensively. Etcheverse with it. Has Gasser up the middle. Chooses not to take it. He's going to slow it down a little bit. Go out wide to Sear. Sear trying to put a ball in potentially here. That one's going to get knocked wide, and that'll be out for a Husson corner kick. 13 minutes here. Clock will stop here with the substitutions. And Porta will take I think Nugera will exit. So it's going to be Alvarez who's going to go down and take this corner kick.
It's good to see Puerta back out there. I mean, last year had to fly back home, missed all of the spring season, finally all the way back.
This one up towards header, down, ball on the back post. I thought that one was in from this angle.
From the camera monitor, it looked
That was
like
Porta actually who had the shot there. Yeah, I believe Porta had that knee injury, was going to be out for the season anyway, chose to kind of have that injury, have the surgery back home in Spain as well as rehab back there. I think it's a smart decision as well. Kind of don't really want to be walking around Bangor, Maine on crutches during the wintertime.
I think especially for an injury like that, to just be closer to family.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Alvarez going down behind the play. Could be to just force the substitution. Definitely dealing with something with that ankle.
Yeah, coming off under his own power, which is a good sign, but coming off one-legged.
So Masamongo's going to push back to CDM. And Duberhall will push to center back along with Blanco. Kind of surprised you don't put Woods in that situation. Put Woods at center back. And that one's going to get caught cleanly by Bryant. So we've seen Duberhall at right back, right wing, and now center back.
He's played a little bit of everywhere, trying to find a home, but he's played every position well, which is awesome. I mean, every squad wants a utility guy, someone they can put anywhere they want, depending on what the game situation calls for.
So now you got this back line that features Duberhall, who I don't think I've ever seen play center back. You have the freshmen in Blanco and DeSorme, and then Chamberlain out here at right back. So Chamberlain really the only one with a whole lot of experience at the position along that back line. We'll see if they can handle this Huskies team that's been pressing in this last 45 to 50 minutes or so. Little 1-2 punch passing here. That one backside. Chamberlain is going to slip on the play out there. Now has to work back to try to catch up with Kelly. That one is shot. Bermudez, good positioning, gets in front of it.
Yeah, he had that the whole way off the foot. Didn't move a muscle.
Etcheverse now finding Blanco. That one's going to be out for a Husson throw-in. About 10 minutes left in this one. We'll see if the Eagles choose to make any substitutions. Could see making something late in this one. Get fresh legs out there, let someone run around. I think the Eagles would love a win, but also are okay with just the tie with the amount of missing players out there. Especially now with Alvarez not out there either. You're now missing arguably, I think, 2 of your top 3 players on the field, I would say.
Especially when it comes down to senior leadership in these close games as well. I mean, Alvarez, Molina, and Masamango are the three guys like the squad's going to look to in a close game like this to say something inspirational and do something inspirational. Now we're just down to Masamango, who's playing this very, very deep. He's almost playing like a sweeper position.
Well, those three are really the three that have had the most minutes. Huberhall slipping on that one. Out of the guys out there on the field. Nice cut through the middle by Etcheworth. Tries to go out wide for Mora, just a little too far. That one did take a touch, though, off of USM. So I'm not sure quite what's happening here. It looks like they're just trying to figure out where the throw-in is going to happen. Mora trying to cut up through the middle. That one cleared out wide. A couple plays in a row not going the Huskies' way.
Line ref said Husson, Charlie, the overseer saw different.
The Eagles here trying to pinch the Huskies down in their own corner. This is one of those ones where if you can remove all the passes, it makes it difficult. Trying to go up high. Somehow Chamberlain got a foot on that. But I think a progressive throw there, though, for the Huskies. That's a big throw up the line.
I feel like that's what Southern Maine's known for, though.
Ooh. That's just unlucky on Porta. He tried to get out of the way, I think. But going up for the header was Asa Farley.
Yeah, that's just
Porta
a really
just
tough
didn't.
play.
Porta just didn't jump for the header.
Porta wasn't even trying to play the ball. I mean, you could see him just trying to, he threw his arms up, was like, I don't know where to go.
I think he was just trying to get out of the way a little bit. But, I mean, you can kind of see both sides of it. Kind of a scary play, though. Farley was way up there. So we'll take a quick break here on the Husson Eagles Sports Network while he gets checked out and be back in just a moment. And welcome back here. Asa Farley getting helped off the field. So it'll be a free kick here from right around midfield. I think that's a tough play either way.
Yeah.
Kind of one of those gray area fouls. I think Porta beat him to the spot and then really didn't try to get in his way and try to make that worse. He really was just trying to get out of the way, but at that point, it's kind of nothing you can do. You're kind of just stuck underneath this guy jumping up above you.
I mean, that's a call that's going to go. I mean, it's weird because technically it doesn't look like it should be a foul when you really look at how it was played out. But then you add the flip, the injury, then it kind of has to be called. And it's going to go to the guy that gets wiped out every time. But it was truly a 50-50 ball in the air. The USM player just jumped first and got the worst of it.
Duberhall having to go all the way back to Bermudez here. We'll have time to control it, though. Huskies dropping back in coverage a little bit. Maybe saving some energy for a late push in this one. Down around 7 minutes now. Still tied 1-1. It's been a very close game so far. Like to see the possession stats. Moore with a chance here. Puts that one on target, but great kick save. Trying to turn back is Echeverse. What a save there from Aldo Bryant. Echeverse did what we talked about just getting your head down, getting something on target. But Bryant doing his job, sticking that right foot out. And
I mean, that's a game-saving save right there. Depending on this result, that's a save that definitely needs to be looked back upon.
Now, that Echeverse shot didn't have a whole, or the shot there from Mora didn't have a crazy amount behind it, but it was still a chance. Sear gets pushed down in the corner. This should be a free kick here, I think, for the Eagles. In a very good spot for a free kick.
Mora is normally the one that takes these, but this job's been passed down to Echeverse now that Mora's been subbed off.
Or Alvarez, you mean?
That's what, yep.
So Echeverse here. Another excellent free kick taker. Usually those two kind of go over it, over the ball together. Echeverse is going to try to float this in towards, I think, Sear, a name to watch out for. Back post, punch clear. Mora shot. Shot there from Gasser, still alive. Duberhall shot low, off the post as Duberhall. Actually, that might have gone punched clear by the keeper, actually.
I think Aldo Bryant got a little touch on that as it was going by. It was an absolute great shot by Duberhall. Kept it low, kept it to a corner, get the goalie moving. He's in traffic. It's hard to see. Just amazing save by Bryant.
Couple big saves in a row here from Bryant. Was a halftime substitution. We saw Gabe Wagner start the game.
Mad about the flag position.
So Moore is going to take this one. DeSorm's going to head up. Eagles kind of pushing everybody. That one off of the front post. And I think that's an offsides call.
I don't think anybody touched the ball, though. I thought someone had to touch the ball. Either way, it comes off the line, right? It hit the post, and then Mora comes out.
Well, also, Mora's taking it from the corner, which is as far up the field as you physically can be. So I'm not really sure how you can be offsides from the ball kicked off there, but we're not the referees, so.
But then it hit the post and then come back out to midfield where Mora was standing. It must have been a foul in there somewhere.
Maybe a handball potentially as well. That's really all I can think about. I don't think that's an offsides call necessarily, but it looked like it. That'll be a goal kick coming up. 3:48 left in this one. That was an Eagles couple golden chances in a row out there. Moore gets shoved out of play right in front of the Husson bench. Big throw up the field there from Chamberlain. Sear getting a little too physical. That's going to be a card handed off to Liam Connolly. Good job from Sear to just kind of take that one. Connolly went over and clapped in his face.
Yellow card issued to Southern Maine's number 2, Liam Connolly.
Sear, though, I think doing a good job of just kind of shaking that one off, get some applause from the coach in Bermudez.
Yeah, but now you can kind of use that as motivation if you're Sear. I mean, close game here.
Sear has that chance to do kind of that.
Yeah.
Okay, man. I'll go down and score on you at the opposite end.
Use it as motivation. Use it against him. Like, now you know you're kind of in his head a little bit.
Great ball over the top. Bermudez, though, will catch that one. Thought for a second he had misread it and wasn't coming out for it, but had it perfectly. And Moore is going to get the yellow card on that one.
Yellow card issued to Huston's number 11, Alejandro Mora.
He's had a couple tense plays down here right in front of the bench.
Yeah, the trio of Connolly, Sear, and Mora have been going at it all game.
Substitution entering the game for
Especially these last 10 minutes it is intensified quick.
Well, it's one of those ones where you kind of get hacked a couple times, and the emotion you saw, I'm not sure if it got caught on camera, Mora, the one that got shoved out right before that yellow card. Mora kind of slapping the ground after that one, after that didn't get called. So corner kick opportunity here for the Huskies. They're going to send everybody up. Gasser's going to be the one lone guy up here, guarded up top. Sear moving up into the defensive zone. A little bit taller guy out there. Eventually has some good header skills. Obviously the freshman, we don't really know. This could be the play of the game as this one coming in towards the back post. Rising up, one by the Huskies, one by Husson next. This one's just going to get sent up the field towards the middle. Gasser had kind of ranged towards that right side. And Duberhall is going to get a knee on it. And that could be a high kick call on that one, but not called. Chamberlain with it. Going to find Puerta. Going back to Masamango now. Eagles have time to set up here. Missed pass trying to find Puerta. And 50-50 won by the Eagles. Chamberlain trying to fit that one through to Puerta. Petrovers is going to come away with it. Gets fouled. Now the Eagles will have a free kick here from just in front of midfield. I think you take your time here, Kay, and try to push some guys up the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave Duberhall back.
I think they're going to play this short to Chamberlain potentially. Actually, they're just sending everybody. Chamberlain's going to drop back on the defensive side. I don't see why you have to wait for the shoe tie here, as this one's going to get sent up the field. Bouncing in towards goal and collected by Aldo Bryant. He's been great in goal here in the second half.
Absolutely. He's made some good saves, kept his composure really well.
So a minute left in this contest. This one, a big punt up the field. Pop straight up in the air. Huskies are going to come to the next one. Bermudez is going to come out and grab it. Under 45 seconds
They
now.
want to just send this immediately.
I think the Eagles got to send this one up the field. Duberhall is going to have to send this one up. They're going to give it to Masamango, the better passer. He's going to chip this one out wide. 30 seconds now. Eagles running out of time in this one. You need to make a play now if you're Husson. 20 seconds. You don't really have time to tic-tac through the midfield. And now a chance at the opposite end for the Huskies. That one slowed down. Masamango coming in and making the play. That should end the contest. I don't think there's enough time on this clock for anything to happen. So this will end a 1-1 tie in what was a hard-fought match between both these two teams, Caden.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a competitive game, start to finish, heated tension game. I mean, you would have liked to see the W for if you're either one of these teams. This is a game you want to get the W, especially as a season opener. To get a W here would have been tremendous. But, I mean, season opener, right? A lot of things you could have worked on. I mean, some injuries, just nagging stuff at the end of that one. I mean, Mario Alvarez is probably taking a couple of those free kicks, but
he's got ice around that left ankle right now. I think Aldo Bryant would definitely get the game ball here for the Huskies, even with just the one half of play, had those couple saves in a row that I think really saved it. And it was a very hard-fought competition between both squads. I think there's something to build from both of them. This Huskies team, despite being young, hung around with this Eagles squad that's pretty experienced for a while. That being said, the Eagles definitely have some kind of stuff to work on, I think, especially on the defensive end, Caden, which is pretty much what we expected coming into the season.
I mean, that was the big question mark coming in. I mean, that goal was just a little bit of a lack of communication, but it was honestly just a great set piece. Like, there's no defending an amazing set piece, and that's what that was. Player just got a little bit loose, a perfectly delivered ball just out past the stretched hands of Bermudez, and you tied the game. But unfortunately, I mean, you had a lot of opportunities down the stretch you could have capitalized on. I mean, those are ones you hope that you get cleaned up by the end of the year, and then hopefully you're winning a game like this 2-1, 3-1 down the stretch.
And that will conclude our broadcast for the day. Huston's men's soccer, we touched on it a little bit. They're going to take on Wentworth Institution of Technology next Sunday, September 1st at noon. Or this Sunday, tomorrow that is. And then the weekend after that, we'll take on Suffolk University before that big Tuesday night showdown against Bowdoin College on September 10th. That one kicking off at 7, and that'll be broadcasted here on the Husson Eagles Sports Network. USM also having some more games moving on the season, but for now, we thank you all for joining us here on the Husson Eagles Sports Network. I've been Avery Henningsen alongside Kane Trenoweth. Have a good rest of your night.